Alrighty, welcome back, guys. This is my first time hosting the channel. We kicked Sky out to bring in Tyler. As you see, I'm going to say to my left on the screen because I don't know if this is going to be inverted. But basically, Tyler is a new member of the team. We'll be introducing them kind of as it just kind of comes in and goes. We're not really going to make a video introducing everybody. So today, obviously, the title, we are introducing our QB ranking tiers. Emphasis on the tiers because these are very, very rough rankings as of now. Obviously, after the combine, the draft, we'll have these set in stone. So I'm going to let Tyler take it over, kind of intro himself, maybe kind of what he's going to do for us, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So take it away, Tyler.
Hey guys, my name is Tyler Moss. You can find me at Tyler Moss NFL on Twitter. Very excited to be here. I've done some work with a few other channels so far in my kind of young career in fantasy podcasting. 7-year fantasy vet. Really excited to start pushing out content. Mainly what I like to do is a lot of film study. Currently doing some film study at Fantasy Flock on YouTube, Fantasy Flock Film Room. Trying to push out videos every single day there and want to kind of spread my content to TCK. Very excited to get in my first video here.
Awesome. So we're just going to jump right into it to be more efficient with time here. So the rankings you can see on the screen, I'm not for sure where, side, bottom, they're going to be on the screen somewhere. So we both have our tier one, which is probably maybe everyone's tier one of Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa. I think I said it right.
Aloha, I'm pretty sure.
Sure. We'll just call him Tua. So as you can see, as of now, I have Burrow 1, Tua 2. He's the opposite. However, I am not far off where he is at. The way I look at it is obviously Burrow's good, but I look at this as like a whole, you got to go college career. You got to look at where he's going to flourish in the NFL, how that's going to work, kind of the production he's going to be lined up to have. So we're just going to start off Joe Burrow. Obviously, everyone saw what he did last year. We don't need to go back on memory lane because he was a beast. But lucky for him, he's going to the Bengals. It's pretty much set in stone unless someone makes an awesome offer. He's going to be their franchise quarterback. So we can kind of, in a way, kind of project how the first couple of years are going to go. So obviously you're watching this to get a better landscape with the rookies for redraft. And if you play Dynasty, that pays in part for your rookie drafts. He's most arguably the 101 right now, I would think. But like I said, we're not going to get into too much into Burrow because you can go on YouTube and search Burrow and everyone's going to have a video about him. We're going to harp more on Tua here. So I'm going to let you take over for Tua since you have him as your one right now, and then I'll kind of give my 2 cents as to why I might be leaning that way due to the recent landscape right now.
Well, I do want to make a quick clarification. My rankings are really based on fantasy. I think Burrow is going to be the number 1 quarterback in the draft, is going to be drafted like he is. But unfortunately, I think there's a guaranteed spot he may be going to, and I don't like it, and I don't see a reason why the fantasy community would love it. So that's why I find Tua as my number 1. I think he has ability to work on every offense. Burrow the same. He has legs that I think are a little bit better than Burrow. Has a lot of mobility, extends plays incredibly well. Wonderful pocket presence. I think the best in the class. Knows when to move, knows when to get out of the pocket and extend plays, climb up in the pocket. He's very good at that. And he's incredible at leading receivers on deep balls. I think he's very impressive on tape. I did some research with him in the LSU game. I wanted to see what him and Burrow would do going back and forth. And Burrow put up some really impressive stats in that game. But I think Tua, coming off of that injury, at least his first one in that season, very solid stuff. Even when he's limited, he's incredible.
Yeah, I think I think the only difference is I think Tua just is a playmaker in general. Like, I'm not saying Joe Burrow's not, but we only saw it this 1 year. He can obviously take that and ride with it off into the sunset and be the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen, best NFL quarterback we've ever seen. But I think with Tua, you're just kind of getting that, oh, you want me to put my team on my shoulders and go score that game-winning touchdown. I think Tua has that mentality already.
Yeah.
Now with this injury, I think it's even building more. Like, I think he's just gained this whole confidence, this whole, like, I'm going to be back. I'm not going down and draft stock. Like, nothing's changed. Like, I'm still here. I'm still that guy. Ultimately, do you have a prediction where he lands? To me, it's the Dolphins. I know that's your favorite team.
Or I would love that. Obviously, as a Dolphin fan, I think he's a player that can fit behind a developing O line in Miami. And while Flores is a defensive coach, I think he'll get the right personnel in there to start working with him, and just increasing what we already see as a really really solid NFL quarterback. One thing I do want to point out with Burrow, there was some drastic improvement, and you brought it up.
Yeah,
His incredible performance in 2019 is never going to be overlooked. 76% completion percentage, which compared to his 2018 where he had 57. So clearly, I think he can develop in an offense really, really quickly within a season, which I think will help him going to Cincinnati. But I think Tua, just a better landing spot. Getting out of the
I
Cincinnati
agree.
is going to help him a lot.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like, no matter what happens, combine anything, like, I don't think there's going to be like no one of these guys is going to be like tier one. I think they're always going to be together just because there's so many arguments, disarguments. Like, there's nothing that's like this is why he's there, as I think we kind of agree on other guys. So we're going to hit the tier two, but I totally forgot to introduce your shades. I don't know if you want to have a reasoning behind why you're wearing them. I just realized people are probably like, why is this man wearing shades right now?
Oh hell yeah! So kind of a big Queen fan, just a little bit. I got the Freddie Mercury glasses, the Ray Bans. Feeling sick wearing them. And want to introduce my own personal tag, Just Shade. We're going to be trying
Oh
pushing
yeah.
obviously quality content for people, but trying to uncover the poor spots as well, because you want to know as a fantasy player who's drafting these guys everything there is to know about them. You want to know the good and you want to know the bad that comes with it. So a little shade on some of the top prospects, just to give you a little bit of heads up on some weaknesses they may have, but I'm rolling with the shades. We're rolling with it. We're
Good.
going.
I just wanted to get that introduced. I'm with it. I like it. We're gonna get that rolling this year. And with the good and the bad, we are gonna drop into my tier two, which is also the same as your tier two,
Yeah.
Justin Herbert and Jacob Eason. And I know we've been fanboying a little bit because we'll start off with Justin Herbert.
Okay.
What I know with Herbert is he has the size to play quarterback in the NFL. He has the
Six.
arm talent, and he has the mental capability, the mental game to be an NFL quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, there's bad to it. What people think he lacks is the big game pressure. Can he do it without a good defense like Oregon had, without playing lesser offenses like Oregon did, as the Pac-12 is more of a well, there's obviously the high-powered offenses, but that team is just overall bad. But the top-notch teams in the Pac-12 are just very solid defensive teams. So
Yeah.
there's kind of question as to where he's going to fit and be able to produce. I think they're kind of comparing him to like a Drew Lock scenario like last year, or someone's trying to find that new like Mahomes type guy that's kind of big question marks, but we've seen the production. I'll let you give him your thoughts on Herbert, then we'll kind of break him down a little bit.
Well, yeah. Oh, geez. I mean, a guy, a senior quarterback, went back. He could have been number one last year. To the fact that we're even doubting him as a quarterback is a little bit of shade. But I think he's a very talented guy. You look at his big game. Obviously, there's some holes sometimes, but I look at Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
Three rushing three rushing touchdowns from a guy who's not a mobile quarterback. He's, obviously, if you're going to be an NFL quarterback these days, you got to be able to move your feet. And he does that when he needs to. Obviously, not his first priority, but I think that really showed his big game ability, stepping up and being able to make plays in that game. And that's not really all. I think he has really, really great accuracy. Short, middle range game is really solid. He's able to put. I think him staying an extra year in college helped work on his ball placement, which can be a little bit more crisp than some other players in this draft. Puts the ball into really, really great spots. Could work on the deep ball. Obviously, that's the big thing that a lot of people are coming at him for. But I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he definitely can go, what is it, day one,
Yeah, he'll for sure
the
go day
first
one.
round. I think he's a very talented quarterback. He's going to help out a team really, really quickly, like Burrow and Tua. He's a developed quarterback. You're going to get solid week one if he's put in that situation to do it, or if you want him to develop a little bit more behind a solid quarterback, you can do that well. I think he's quite versatile.
Yeah, I think ultimately he lands on the Chargers. That's kind of how
Okay.
things shaped out. Obviously, they cut ties with Rivers. they said Tyrod could be their bridge quarterback, and I think that'd be huge to have Tyrod kind of take over for a year or maybe half a year, however it plays out. But yeah, I think ultimately Herbert we know has the talent to be Burrow, to be Tua. Like he has all the tangibles needed for that. It just obviously didn't fall into a place where we're at that right now. But there's so many college quarterbacks. You know how many of them actually play the next year? 32, the 32 NFL teams. But how many come in and play right away? How many come in and succeed right away? It's just the way it is. Obviously, we can't say he's the next Joe Burrow or the next Tua because it's how it is. Like, I mean, no one can play at the level they did every single year all the time.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into our next guy who we've been fanboying big time about, Jacob Eason. I'm just going to come out and say it. I forgot about him completely. And I know for a fact I'm not staying up till 11:30 p.m. watching Washington football. I can say that so much. That's just not me. I'm not doing that. So I started watching some film the last couple of days, and I kind of fell in love with the way he plays. I think he's very unpolished as a quarterback, but I think we'll just start with the strengths. He's a cannon. He can just chuck the ball, but he also has a cannon with no regret type situation. Like he is very confirming in his head. He is very confident in the throws he makes, whether it's good or bad. He just does it. He doesn't hesitate. He not very. I don't want to say he's very inaccurate because he's not like just throwing the ball around like Mahomes kind of is sometimes, where he has very inaccurate games. But he's very concise with where he throws it, how hard he throws it, and with the confidence he throws it with. But there are some negatives to his game. I saw a couple of the games. He kind of tried to extend a lot of plays that he shouldn't have. I don't think Washington's O-line kind of got a good rank on PFF's rankings, but the way I watched it, it didn't really seem like they were that good. So I was kind of confused there. But against Utah last year, number 2 defense ranked in the FBS via NCAA teamstats.com, he shredded them for 316 and 4 touchdowns. Like his upside is visibly there. And I guess I was texting you. I kind of compared him to a Drew Lock type of not the way he plays, but the way he's being brought about this draft. Kind of that 1-2 turn, but could easily fall to day 2 end of it. Like you don't really know what's going to happen. So I'll let him give your thoughts on the young gun, Jacob Eason.
Well, I'll start with the fact that I do believe he's a day 2 kind of guy, second, third pick. Obviously, we see quarterbacks every single year, whether they're undeserving or not, climb very, very high in drafts. So we can't always assume where quarterbacks are going to go. Where we can kind of look at that with running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. We can kind of see where they're going to fall with team need. But quarterbacks are always a wild card. So while I do see him as day 2, gosh, it would be crazy, but I wouldn't doubt a chance at him being a day 1 guy. But my overall views on him, most confident arm in the draft, very by far. He makes dumb throws, and I watch film on him, and it angers me sometimes. But he puts the ball in spots. I mean, he'll throw into double coverage, get it to his receiver, where his receiver's only going to make only the receiver's going to make the play. He's got an absolute rifle. You mentioned it, and while I think it's very unpolished with his decision making, I think if there's anything an NFL coach wants to be forced to improve on, I think working on decision making and focusing on not making bad throws isn't a bad thing to have to start with day 1. So I think he could be a very solid quarterback for a team, and I think even better, I think he can sit behind a really polished quarterback. Could be on the way out eventually too. Say Drew Brees stays another year in NOLA, we may see if Eason goes there the next dominant quarterback, because he definitely has all the tools. He just got to use the head a little bit more, make decisions, and he obviously finally not really much mobile, so could really benefit off a strong O-line. Whereas like Burrow and Tua, you send them to a poor team on the offensive front, it's not going to be terrible for them. But Eason could really do well with a great O-line in front of him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he's in a prime spot as of where his draft capital is, because there's a lot of teams at that, or like you said, early day 2, Dolphins, Colts, Saints could always move up. teams could move back like the Broncos did last year when they moved out of the 10 spot and gained that really early day 2 to get Drew Lock.
Yeah.
The I don't ultimately see him as a day 1 starter, but I would ultimately see him as a Drew Lock, but an extended wait Drew Lock. Obviously, Joe Flacco got hurt, so that window was closed.
Yeah.
As it probably would have been the whole season if I had to predict. So I definitely see something like that situation.
I
So
completely forgot about the Colts, by the way.
yeah,
Right.
I think that's a
God, that would be the
huge
dream spot. I'll be
yeah,
honest with you.
and he
That
would have the position huge great O line. They'll have Marlon Mack, or I think they get another running back. They should add a receiver through free agency or the draft. I think he's really, as much as people don't notice it, I think he really is going to make an impact. I want to say later rather than sooner, but not like a huge gap, obviously. So with that, we'll move into our tier 3. This is where it gets tough. This is where I hold a little hope for these guys, but ultimately I don't know. So my tier 3, as you can see, I have Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. You have Jake Fromm and Jordan Love. And I'm just going to start out and say it. I am out on Jake Fromm. No way. I don't know. It's just not attractive to me. So we'll go Jordan Love first since we both have that, and then we can kind of go on our argument of the other two. So Jordan
okay.
Love, obviously, if you follow at this time, you know the overall opinion of him is has a good arm potential, but interceptions. That's just the way it is with him. He just is, in quotation marks, dumb, if you want to put that, I guess. I don't really want to call him dumb by any means, but it's kind of how it is, kind of that what he's kind of been deemed at. But what doesn't make sense to me is in all these mocks, I'm seeing him go like top 15, but all the grades that he's getting are like round 2 grades. So things just aren't really adding up. In the last half of this episode, we'll kind of talk about how the combine is going to weigh into this because these are obviously coming out combine week when you're hearing this. He is one of the guys that could easily become a round 1 pick with the combine, or he could easily be a day 3 pick with the combine, just because he's on a short string for sure. If you have anything to add about him, go ahead.
Yeah. Obviously, my rankings, I got from right above Love. When I'm watching my film, I want the peak defenses that the team's facing, and it's kind of unfair to Jordan Love. But I watched a lot of the LSU game, and it's just not attractive. And I understand the situation you're being put in. You're a low end team. Not much outside of your quarterback, and you got to go into LSU, and everyone knows you're going to get routed, especially this year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's hard to judge his tape, and I want to take some more time to maybe look at some in-conference teams. But it's hard for me to get a really good gauge on these non-Power 5 kind of quarterbacks because there's just not much content to what I'm watching. Because obviously, any solid quarterback is able to carve up a weaker Power 5 team.
Yeah, I think, and we'll touch on back on at the end of the episode, kind of how we view the combine outlook and sort of how the potential either way that we can let it slip. So now we're going to go into here, and this is me holding my hope for Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
I don't know. Post combine, we're going to have our updated rankings on the sites and like tweet it out and all that stuff. And he is where like I think he will move more than Love will for me, just because he is obviously just kind of been thrown aside his whole career in the college landscape. So obviously he played for Bama, the whole Tua Bama whatever not feud thing, but just kind of whatever happened there. Went to OU, put up monstrous numbers. Like he had more touchdowns, obviously, because he runs the ball, than Joe Burrow. The team they were good. They were in the playoff. They got killed by LSU, but they just sucked, like in general as a team.
Yeah.
But the way the playoff is set up, Big 12 is usually going to get in if you win the Big 12, and they got to play Baylor's backup quarterback in the Big 12 championship, and they still almost lost. So overall, Jalen Hurts, obviously we know he can run. He's an athletic playmaker, and he can throw is the thing, but people are saying his throwing is not that great. So with this, like I said, kind of attached to Love, we have to see how he's going to throw, because obviously he's going to test out the roof compared to the quarterbacks. He's going to run faster than them. He's going to do 3-cone faster than them. He's probably, if they do other like scramble drills, he's going to do much better than them. So we're just going to have to see how his throwing is. But ultimately the big thing with him, I think, is what team is going to tie draft capital to him. What team is going to give him that chance like we saw with Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
Because that's the only reason Lamar Jackson's good. I mean, he's not good, but that's the only reason why he's producing the way he is, because the team invested in that type of quarterback. So we're gonna have to see that. I don't really know what team that's gonna be. We're gonna have to kind of see how that goes, but I know the potential is there, but it's
Mhm.
very, very untapped potential. So if you want to weigh in on him and then move into your Jake Fromm tier 3 guy, go ahead.
Well, I mean, gosh, I think there's two things that are going to do him huge justice that you mentioned. Obviously, draft combine is going to be through the roof. I think we've all just accepted that as analysts. And then Lamar winning MVP, it's going to cause a little bit of a change in the league, as we saw with Mahomes, and people started to kind of take stabs at potential quarterbacks, and we'll see it again in this draft. But people are going to want to look for peak athleticism in a quarterback, because they're going to see how it worked with Lamar. But what's different about Lamar is what Harbaugh was able to do to completely throw out a non-mobile quarterback system that's
Exactly.
relying on run game and passing, that without mobility. So you're going to have to land on a team that is very okay with throwing out everything they've worked on and
Mhm.
readjusting their plan. And it's going to have to be with a good coach, because you can't get it with a new coach. You can't, because they don't have the experience to just completely flip a playbook and still keep all the other guys that they've had on the team still invested in what they're doing. And I don't think the profile is as good as with Lamar coming out of college. Lamar was a Heisman. This is something that no one really, people kind of forgot about. This is so, the MVP for me wasn't as stunning. I think what Harbaugh was able to do was incredible, but I think the MVP wasn't as stunning because I saw his ability in college, and
Yep.
no one really recognized it as well. And there's clearly Lamar Jackson and Hurts. I mean, Hurts isn't even close. Hurts is not a Heisman. There's never a thought in
No.
our minds that we thought Hurts would be a Heisman. So there's growth, and he's going to have to grow with his arm, because you can only play the running game for so long. And Lamar's working on that. Clearly, he put a lot of effort into that, and he will continue. But does Hurts have the drive to do that? Will he land on a good system? There's just too many factors for me to want to mess around with that.
Awesome. And Jake Fromm, since he's in your tier 3.
Absolutely. So I like Fromm. I like SEC quarterbacks. I think you're facing the peak of athletic competition. They're a few bars down from the worst teams in the NFL. In all realness, SEC teams they're just something else. And I'm a Gator fan, so I had to face Fromm a few times in our
Mm-hmm.
experience with them. Not a fun quarterback. Obviously, this year very much took a step back. They focused a lot on the run game. They had one of the best O-lines in the NCAA, so they could do that. But when we look – and I will be covering the Jake Fromm Florida tape coming up on the Fantasy Flock Film Room. When we cover that, I'm going to break down a lot of things about him that I liked. And what I liked was his ability to turn on the switch when he knows the run game isn't working. And why I want to watch that Florida film is because of how talented they are at stuffing the run. So from having to turn it on when he's given the chance to, can be very, very deadly for an NFL team. And I think we kind of lost that this year. But if you look at some 2018 things, you'll see he has that switch, and he can be a dominant quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's just he's so underwhelming compared to the others. That is why people are kind of off on him. I could obviously go up. Obviously, the combine is when you're seeing this week, and there'll be a huge update of everything. Like we'll have completely new notes, we'll have completely new rankings, all that stuff. Completely new rookie dynasty, all that stuff is going to be new. Um, like you said, the team was just undermanned for an SEC team this year. They'll be right back on track next year. I'm not too worried about it. He screams to me a day two trade up and then just wait behind a starter guy to me. Like that's just kind of like what he's not going to start next year unless a player gets hurt, but he's not going to be drafted to start next year. People know that he needs time to develop, and I think he ultimately will get that because he's just a good quarterback in general. I'm just going to hold that Hurts because obviously I have Fromm below him. I don't have him like super, super far down there, but I'm just going to hold him that hope of Hurts performing at the combine to ultimately bump him up. So those are our 3 tiers, top 6, I believe, for both of us. So now we're going to kind of just move into some general thoughts about the combine, kind of what we're looking for. So when we're recording this, it's actually the week before. So I'm not for sure if Tua's fully competing or whatever the whole case may be. But they've said that his surgery has gone, or his recovery surgery, everything is in line and ahead of what it should be for him because he was just going to throw. I don't know if that was going to be at the combine, private throwing, whatever it is, but he's well ahead of schedule. And that's huge, I think. It's huge for obviously him, but I think it's also huge for a team like the Lions who's sitting at pick 3 type thing. Like stuff like that, it ties in greatly. So if Tua competes at the combine, I'll be interested to see if it's full speed. I can't imagine he goes in to run his 40, 75%. Like, obviously, that's set in stone data that's going to be with you your whole career. You don't want to ruin that. So I think if he does compete, I'm just going to look at how he's throwing. Not like how he's throwing, but like how his whole body's moving while he's throwing. Is he comfortable with putting pressure on the leg, on the knee, on the overall process, the overall flow of how he's throwing? I probably won't pay too much attention to like his 40 and stuff because he is a mobile guy, but if he is banged up, it's obviously going to be a little flawed in the numbers that he runs. Is there anything that if Tua performs, obviously we don't know as of now, if he competes in the combine that you're kind of looking for?
Well, I'm pretty sure, and obviously when the combine comes out, we'll know, obviously, for sure. I think he's just passing. So
Okay.
going to lead to, and anyways, for me personally, that's all I'm looking for. Speed is fun, but it doesn't accumulate to quarterbacks at all. We know the mobility.
Yeah, we know he has it, yeah.
You see it in film, the mobility. And as much as a 40-yard dash is kind of fun to watch and keep up with, what you're kind of looking for in a mobile quarterback is pocket presence, being able to escape defenders, and being able to make smart decisions off of pressure. That's what you're looking at, and you're only going to get that from film. So I'm not a huge combine person. Obviously, it doesn't say everything. It doesn't actually say all that much, at least in my eyes, but I will keep up with it. I like the passing. I want to see how he does. Again, like you said, with the hip torque and all of the motions that he's going to have to, I wouldn't say relearn, but readjust to.
Exactly. So,
but yeah, that's really all I'm looking for.
Yeah, so I don't know. Obviously, we'll know. We'll be like tweeting out and all that stuff, kind of what we're feeling. Maybe Instagram post, all that stuff. I think with Herbert, I don't think the combine's going to help or hurt his stock. I think what he did at the Senior Bowl is pretty impressive enough to kind of solidify him as that third quarterback, as that 6 to 10 pick type of guy, wherever that may be, or maybe even 5 to 10, just kind of how the draft flows. He is, I don't know. The combine's not going to show him anything because the people know that he can sling the ball around. They know that he's not going to be the most athletic guy, so that stuff's not going to matter. Ultimately, the combine doesn't matter a ton for quarterbacks and receivers. The running backs is where it matters a lot because we see all this data coming in that we can compile and spit out these projections and these comparisons and all this stuff, which I'll have articles on that stuff. RotoViz has great tools.
Yeah.
But like we said, Jordan Love, Jacob Eason, Jalen Hurts, I think those are the 3 that I think are going to be huge, not only for our rankings, but for everyone's rankings in terms of the combine, because those 3 are the guys that I think people don't know where to put them because they all have differing negative parts to their game.
Mm-hmm.
We know Eason can sling it, but can he move around in the pocket? Can he run? Is he strong? Can he bat? Like all that stuff that we don't know because his whole game was just slinging it against crappy Pac-12 defenses, except for Utah. We don't know how overall of an athlete he is, I guess is what you could say. And I think that's what's ultimately going to round out his grade. And if he can accurately hit the deep ball, I think I don't know how like the whole like throwing thing works, but I got a feeling they're going to tell him to start slinging like 60-yard passes just because they want to see that. So I think that'll be kind of cool just to see. With Hurts, like I said, it's just going to be, can he accurately throw it? It doesn't have to be like super downfield, but can he just hit the consistent throws? Because like we said, he's gonna destroy the combine in numbers for quarterbacks. Because what other quarterback could have competed with him? Tua, but I don't think. I mean, like you said, you don't think he's gonna run. And the other quarterbacks are more pro style, so I don't know. I'm looking for Hurts to just show consistency. I don't know. I haven't watched a ton of Love film, So I'm kind of just looking at him in general, just to kind of see how he presents himself. Do you have anything else you want to touch on for certain aspects in the combine?
Um, yeah, well, I don't think quarterbacks is really what the combine is made
No.
to point out big things. You said it best. There's not really much room to grow past the top three, because once when you get past the top three, you start seeing some refinery issues with like Eason and Love and Hurts. So really, what it can do for them is, I think personally, I think sometimes scouts pay a little bit too much attention to the combine. So Hurts is obviously going to get helped through it. I think Eason probably will get a boost. The arm strength, it can be key in the NFL now. Deep throws are inevitable. Guys are getting faster receiving wise. You get a guy like that again sling it around, that's going to help his stock. Obviously, Love got to do a little bit more research on him. It's
Mm.
early. We'll get some content out for him, but gosh, quarterbacks, it doesn't really help or hurt.
Yeah, I agree. Well, these are more so landing spot
Mm-hmm. Oh,
purely based for rankings, just because we know what they can do as of now. So with that, we're just going to end this video here. This will be coming out Monday, Combine Week, and then we're going to post running backs Tuesday, so tomorrow, receivers Wednesday, so in 2 days. So thank you so much for watching. Go ahead down below, hit the like button, subscribe, please. I'll have Tyler's stuff down below, as well as go on his Twitter, go on the site. We're going to have a bunch of stuff rolling. We're super excited for the Combine. So peace.
absolutely. Thanks for having me on, man.